But when you've seen so many people in clinic, you spot the patterns really quickly. Food noise is real. Food noise, let's talk food noise. Food noise is a thing. It's this constant chitter-chatter between your stomach and your brain. And it comes from, I suddenly went from 3,000 followers to 500,000 followers in a year. At the bottom of your small intestine and in your large intestine are these little cells called L cells, and they make GLP-1. But they only make it when there's something really calming about eating, particularly for women, 25, 30 grams of protein at breakfast, having your fibre. I think it's really stabilising on our mood, and I think we have a much more productive morning. And I think if you push your breakfast too late, there is some research to show that.
Hi, I'm Cary, and welcome to the Eat Nourish Love podcast. For over 20 years, I've created events, raised over 4 million for good causes, and been lucky enough to meet some incredible people along the way. This podcast is about exploring stories and insights that really shape us, with inspiring guests from wellness, business, self-care and personal growth. It's about learning to trust our intuition and discovering what truly matters, and how, with hard work, belief and tenacity, we can make so many things happen.
Welcome to the Eat Nourish Love podcast. I'm so excited to have this guest. I know we're going to be talking endlessly about so much, but Dominique Ludwig, your book was launched yesterday, and wow, I have it in front of me. It's so exciting. But just so I can give a little bit of an update to guests. So Dominique, you're an accredited nutritionist with over 30 years experience, an MSc from King's College London, and a registered nutritional therapy practitioner. You worked with, 4,500 people worldwide, helping them improve their health through a simple, science-led and no-nonsense approach to food. Your philosophy, I can see, is very clear. Everyone should have knowledge and the power to improve your health through what they eat. And your book was launched yesterday, and I'm so excited to have you on this podcast.
I know. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
What's your life like all of a sudden? It must be crazy, isn't it?
It's been a bit of a crazy week. So my phone is literally going bananas. People keep sending me pictures of the installations in the shops. I'm watching all the Amazon figures. So we're number 1 in healthy eating and Waterstones, Amazon. This morning we were the 17th best-selling book across all genres in Amazon and number 4 in Waterstones. So we've really come crashing into the charts straight away. So it's very, very exciting.
Well, I met this lovely, actually the last podcast person, Sean Sutherland, in London yesterday to talk to him at work. And then I walked up the King's Road to see a pop-up there. And there was your book. And I've got a photograph of it so I can show. I saw your book and I went, yeah, that's it.
I haven't seen that. People keep telling me it's King's Road. It's King's Road. No one sent me a photo.
Oh, I'll send you the photograph. I'll send you the photograph after this and I'll tag you into an Instagram. But so let's go back to where this all started. How did you get involved in this world?
So, yeah, it's a really long story. So I started off thinking I was going to go and work in the food industry, being a recipe creator is what I thought I would do, because I didn't have much knowledge back then. I didn't really know, that you could do a degree in nutrition. And I did a home economics degree in Manchester. And I got to the end of it and thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I didn't really like a lot of it. So I said to my tutor, I only really like the nutrition and the food science. And he said, you must go to King's. And I said, well, and study nutrition. And so I remember doing my application just with a black biro, wrote it out by hand, said to my dad, do you mind if I send this off? He's like, no, go for it. And I sent it off and I got a place, and that changed my world. It was like a light bulb went on. I was just fascinated by the science. And so that really set off my love of it. And then I still went back in and worked in the food industry. And then I realized that it wasn't enough for me to work in the food industry. It wasn't what I wanted to do. So I moved to Germany, had 2 children, learned German, came back to the UK, age, 30, with the 2 children in tow, and went back and studied nutritional therapy. And there I found my people. And it was almost like I had all of the knowledge of the biochemistry, but the nutritional therapy just joined up all the dots. And it was like this whole jigsaw puzzle just fell into place, and I found my thing. And that passion's just been with me forever. So I worked in clinic 1-to-1 working on very, very complex conditions, with often multi-layered. So if I want to, and I can, so I'm trained to dig deep. So I'm trained to sit in clinic and really try and find the lever that's going to get the biggest improvement in someone's health. But what then happened is I worked out through social media that I was very good at explaining nutrition. So I think what I try and do is distill complex nutrition into little sound bites that you can go away and do straight away. So you might just hear something at breakfast and do it by lunchtime.
There's no one out there that does that. So I love it. I'm Dominique Ludwig. And in your introduction, every time it's consistent, it's there, no one can miss you. I mean, you're hitting almost 1 million followers on Instagram, and that's going to go wild now. That's exciting. But, and what you produce is so delicious. It's so exciting. I mean, I'm a real big foodie. Well, I'm a bit of everything. I can fast for days as well as which I probably shouldn't be having already booked. But I'm a foodie and I have that background, so I actually love it. But it's interesting. So do you still run your clinic now?
I do, but it's a much smaller clinic now. So my life it sort of changed. I suddenly went from 3,000 followers to 500,000 followers in a year, which opened up other doors as well. So it's given me, I'm very lucky. I think this has given me a voice. I've learned so much. It's taken me 20 years to actually want to write a book, to feel like I've seen enough. And I think the thing with the book is, I've written it from sort of two perspectives. One is you've got to obviously be following the science. You've got to be learning and unlearning as the science unfolds. But when you've seen so many people in clinic, you spot the patterns really quickly. And I think I wanted to see all of that, just to see what works, and then think, okay, how do you put that into a book so that people can just take it and run? So I lead you by the hand through the first part of the book and give you really simple everyday principles, but then I give you the recipes and say, and this is how you do it. And every single recipe is balanced. It uses all of my sort of principles to balance the recipe, so you don't have to do any number crunching. It's all done for you.
So I think that's a really interesting part of what you do in this cookery book in particular, is it's the balance of the ingredients, the recipes. It's a nutritional. It's not just a food book. And I love the beginning of it. You explain and we'll cover some of those big questions that people have. You've really answered a lot of questions at the beginning, and also that lovely bit you put at the back, which is about the protein, because obviously that's been a big conversation. Fiber, protein.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some amazing people on the podcast already, and actually it's trying to help people take the confusion out of what they do, isn't it? Because that's where you came from. So how did you get involved in the cooking side? You were a nutritionist, and then how did you get involved in the actual cooking?
Because in order to make your clinic work, you have to get your clients to do what you want them to do. And so I learned quite early on that just writing them a report with a load of just words, and this is the supplements I want you to take, this is what I want you to do, it just didn't bring it to life. But when I started to think, well, I'd like you to have these foods for breakfast, so I started to write them up really nicely, to start to learn to photograph them nicely. And every client got their own little file on a Google Drive with not their personal stuff, but all the recipes. So they had everything to download. And I think if you can tell people what to do, but you have to show them how to do it. And you get much better results when you do that. And then COVID hit. And COVID was when I wrote my first program, which was Renew, Reset, Recharge, which I still run today. It's still my sort of flagship nutrition program. But it made me actually write a program and put everything into words. And then, the book is the follow on from that, really.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Because COVID hit and so many people did stuff. And actually a lot of those businesses are failing because it was just literally an online course. But obviously with what you did is it actually escalated your knowledge and you boxed it up. And it was a product, but you had all that background before. So it wasn't an empty product. And I think that's a really interesting concept.
I think something that I still do and I still feel passionate about, I still give me. So I give a part of me when I do it. So I always do live Zoom calls. They're group Zoom calls, but I don't turn the call off until everybody has finished and asked all their questions, even if we've run over. And I think that's really special for people as well, because it really helps them to do that. And the book then is the sort of almost the follow-on plan. People might find they lose weight from it because it's all about hunger, satiety, balance, nutrients. But it's kind of, the book itself is created to support not only women, men can do it, too. But a lot of women, want to almost be have the permission to eat 3 decent meals a day and to feel their best. So I want women to feel nourished, strong, resilient, with full of micronutrients. All the micronutrients are all they're like little keys that run around your body, just making all of the biochemical reactions work even better. So that's what makes you feel well. So when you wake up and you don't feel well, all of these biochemical reactions maybe aren't working as well as they could be. So it's all about nutrients. It's not just about energy. It's like this. I often describe it, and I think I say like this in the book. I always say food is like a train arriving at your station. Yes, it brings energy, protein, fats, carbohydrates, all of those things. But it's the carriages at the back that are really important. It's the magnesium, the zinc, the B vitamins, all of those little micronutrients that just drive everything in your body and all these chemical reactions that are just so important.
Just going back to the nutrition side of it, because people have say that that our food is so empty, it doesn't have the nutritional value because our soils are now so deplete of vitamins and minerals, and particularly the micro minerals. And so, what is your view on that and food and supplementation?
Well, we have to live in the world we live in. I think there is a big issue with the soil. I think it's wrong to say we're not getting any nutrients from our food. It's probably some nutrients are lower than they were. That's true. I always think that not every single mouthful counts, but most of the mouthfuls you have every day should count. So if we're eating a highly processed diet, we're not probably going to be eating as good quality fats, proteins, too much carbohydrate, not enough fiber. But I think when it comes to food, what we actually want to do is uncomplicate food. I think we can actually get so wound up or worried about our food because there's the next nutrition article. Nutrition sensationalism is what I describe social media as. People want to cherry pick one thing, and they sometimes put way too much emphasis on that one thing. It's clickbait. We're waiting for the next best thing. We're waiting for the next supplement, the next trend, better weight loss jabs. We're looking for all of these things, but I think actually what people want is just a clear path through with their diet. And supplements are great when we need them for a bridge, when we've got a deficiency. There are certain supplements that we probably should be taking most of the year, things like vitamin D. As we get older, we just need to be a bit more mindful. But I think it's just prioritizing our food, and particularly as women, I think we prioritize others. We're always prioritizing our children, our partners, our parents who are maybe not so well. And I think I want to empower women to say, look, put your own oxygen mask on. You can have this fantastic, these fantastic 3 meals a day and feel incredible. And I think often we don't eat enough. We don't eat enough at breakfast. Then we're hungry the rest of the day. And then we're snacking, and then we're cross with ourselves, and then we feel a bit guilty. And then the next day we wake up and do it all over again. And I think what I want to do is when you were talking about nutrition just now, is I think it's really important to eat to get your balance. My book is all about balance and eating more, bringing more foods in. If you bring in more of the good stuff, you gradually start to displace the foods that maybe aren't so good. But if you put more attention on your meals and you add a sprinkling of, a feta, some walnuts, a little bit of hummus on the side, some extra avocado, whatever you're adding in is bringing in more nutrients. And I think the food we eat at our meals is normally the food where you get the most nutrition. The food we eat in between meals, we know from research that's been done, is often of much poorer quality and accounts for about a quarter of our total energy intake. So what my approach really is stop eating all the bits and pieces in between because you haven't eaten quite enough at your meals. Get the balance right at your meals. Enjoy that feeling of true satiety and then have your next meal. And that way you're just going to boost the nutrients in your diet anyway.
I think it's interesting. You're actually giving people permission to eat, and I think half the time is now with the jabs and fasting and all these things, which there's a lot of it works, and a lot of it's in the right places is good, but it's actually allowing people to have time to eat and enjoy food, and bring the food back, because that's what we have to do. We have to bring the enjoyment of food back into the world, really, a little bit.
Yeah, we over medicalize nutrition sometimes, and I think we try and I have to do that sometimes in clinic where I've got a really difficult situation with a client, and it can be incredibly tricky trying to even find things that they can eat. But for the vast majority of people, and this is something I've learned over 20 years of clinical practice, is sometimes if you just take a step back and zoom out, you can complicate every single condition that everyone's got, all the symptoms, but just taking a step back, putting 3 nourishing meals in, almost, reducing sugar, ultra processed food, making that a real, getting that out of the diet as much as you can. It's not that we should never eat those foods, but prioritizing real food. What I find is that after 4 weeks of eating this way, a lot of people's issues that they started with are not there anymore. Their energy's gone up, their digestion's better, their mood is better. We've been taking some results from one of my programs, and 45% of people tick a box at the end of the 4 weeks to say their mood has improved. And I think that's just fascinating through food. Their inflammation's gone down, their sleep's better, and all of these things start to change. Acid reflux isn't so bad, blood pressure has gone down. I can't say this happens for every single case, but this is something that's becoming very repeatable. And just from changing the one thing that's under our nose, so we can chase the next supplement, the next trend, the next jab, the next whatever. But food is right under our nose. It's there every day. And I think we sometimes forget just how transformational it can be and how quickly it can start to work. I mean, within 2 weeks, if you start changing your diet and really focusing on what you're eating, you can often see a change in your health.
You mentioned there is to not take one thing in isolation, and I think what you try to do is bring the thing as a whole. So we could talk about calorie deficit, we could talk about gut health, protein, fasting, but you cover the whole thing in your book, don't you?
I think that's why it's cutting through at the minute. It's like an umbrella. It's like everything's in there. We're not, and I think the thing with lots of books is they come out with a different theme, which is great. And it's all about stacking all this information together. Like, don't eat ultra processed food. Let's talk protein. Let's talk fiber. And we're layering up these sort of nutritional habits. And I think then we sort of change how we talk on social media, and people are maybe thinking, oh, we're not talking about protein anymore. So people can get confused as well. So I've tried to put everything that I've learned really into one book that you can just keep coming back to. You can read the nutrition bit if you want to. You can just read a little bit and have a takeaway, or you can just jump in and start with some of the recipes. Everyone can take the book how they want to.
I think it's really interesting because I did a sourdough course the other day with Georgia Siskin, who actually spoke at one of our events, and it was such a lovely thing to do. And she did a talk with Caroline Waldegrove, who I worked with at ProLeaf, and it packs so much stuff into it. And I have a feeling, and I probably shouldn't, but my husband had this sort of perpetual cough, and no one's ever worked out what it is. Anyway, I eventually said, I'm making this sourdough, and I'm making 2 loaves a week, because that's what Georgie said, give one away or whatever. So I love it, wrap one up and give one away to people. And it's quite basic, sort of, it's the old-fashioned sort of sourdough. Anyway, my husband's cough's almost disappeared. And he eats a lot of bread. So it's really weird. And so I said to him, you can't eat any other bread because I'm making all this bread and I eat a bit, but I don't eat the quantity he does. So you've got to eat it.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think nutrition is very powerful. And what I suddenly find is because of my social media presence, I get emails or messages from people sometimes, across the other side of the globe, and saying, I had someone the other day, someone had quite a serious autoimmune condition with chronic pain in their lower back. And this is I've just been following all your advice and I'm completely pain free. And I just wanted to say a big thank you. And you hear things like this and think, well, okay, it could have been other things as well. It's association. We don't have proof. But from what I'm seeing, just because I'm working with so many people and so many women months on months with programs, I'm seeing what I'm seeing. They're all saying the same sorts of things. And I think it's just so powerful. So yes, it's
are you able to,
important.
Nutrition is so important. Are you able to identify maybe a couple of situations where you just went, wow, that's incredible? Or do you just have them all the time?
I think the most, yes, because I have this amazing contact with people. So I suddenly be doing a live Zoom call, and someone will just suddenly break down in tears. So I had a really great story the other day. Actually, I had a gentleman on one of my programs. So I mean, it's all the same sort of thing, whether it's the books, the programs, whatever. It's all it's all similar advice. I don't keep chopping and changing it. But this gentleman had he'd had chronic pain in his chest, in his back. He had blood pressure. He had so many conditions and problems at the beginning. By the end of it, he took up triathlon. He said, I'm not in pain anymore. And he literally wrote me a list. My sleep's better, my energy's better. And it was almost like just this glowing email of everything that had changed. But it happens quite a lot. People saying or they just do this with their hands and they say, look at my hands. I had really bad pain in my hands and I can just do this now. It might be something very little, and that might sound really little to somebody, but that's inflammation. So we know that diet plays a role in inflammation, but sometimes I'm surprised by the role it can play. But it's not, it doesn't heal, we can't replace medicine with nutrition. We also need to look at exercise, stress, and all the other factors that make us healthy. And for some people, nutrition's a really big piece of the puzzle. And other people, you put the nutrition in place and you still don't get the results because actually there's stress and there's inflammation. There's other things going on as well. So it's, I don't think you can say it's nutrition is everything, but it is something we do 3 times a day. So getting it right most of the time can be really beneficial.
Let's just unpack inflammation a little bit, because I think that it's something that's people being more aware of than anything else. At the moment, particularly with insulin levels and obviously the rise of all those different diseases associated with insulin and inflammation. So, what's your take? What's your view on it?
Well, inflammation is a very important mechanism. Without inflammation, we'd all be dead. So it's part of our immune system's response. We're designed to have inflammation, which is our immune system responding as it's meant to. So we have periods where we have inflammation and periods where it resolves itself. Inflammation often lies at the heart of lots of different diseases, whether it's cardiovascular disease, some cancers, brain health, things like this. So, and you're right. Also, if you obesity, type 2 diabetes, inflammation plays a big role. The problem with inflammation is when it doesn't resolve. I mean, it becomes what we call low-grade chronic. And so it's there all the time, nagging in the background. And there are lots of different causes. So lack of exercise, smoking, drinking too much alcohol. So it's not just food, but also the food that we're eating can drive inflammation or it can reduce inflammation. So if we're constantly eating foods that are, ultra processed, we're starting the day with an ultra processed breakfast cereal, or grabbing a coffee and a muffin, we're having a meal deal at lunch, we're having, that's, if you're just in that sort of, busy lifestyle where you're not really giving enough attention to your food, you can accidentally be driving more of that inflammation in the body. Whereas eating all the sort of Mediterranean healthy foods, whether it's berries, colourful vegetables, nuts, seeds, fermented foods, can help to reduce inflammation. So our food contains plant compounds, and many of them are also anti-inflammatory. But one of the most important mechanisms we have for inflammation is actually our gut. So your gut microbes are actually can actually dial up inflammation or reduce it down again. So when you eat fiber, your gut microbes make these substances called short-chain fatty acids, and they can help to reduce inflammation in the body as well, not just in the gut, but systemically. So I think if someone has an inflammatory condition, there's no promises that this is going to improve it. But what we eat can actually influence inflammation. We're getting more and more research on this to actually support it.
And I think actually what's going to be interesting, because everything's going viral, from health to wellness to this to that to what we should be doing, and it's great because there's lots of platforms now where we're hearing things and learning things and being mindful of it. But actually, you also got to be careful about what you're picking up and what you're doing and who's influencing that. And I think that's why, and I have to say, I love watching you and do your recipes. I mean, this book, this one, look at that, look at the colour. But you see, it's a nutrition book, but it's, I've worked with lots of nutritionists over the years, but it's fun. You create lots of fun. Your food looks delicious. It's quite short and sharp, your things that you do on Instagram. So it's, it's very easy to follow. How long did it take you to? There are about 100 recipes in here, aren't there?
Wow. I think I wrote it really quickly. Yeah. But you've just shown my wasabi super green soup. So, soup and bread doesn't generally fill you up. So I'm thinking of a way, how do we get 30 grams of protein, 10 grams of fiber into that soup? So it's all about the toppings then. But yeah, I wrote the book from January until June last year. And then copy editing took forever afterwards, and the food photography. But the bulk of it was written within 6 months. So some of the recipes took a little bit more refining at the end. But quite quickly, I think. for a book. I mean, I'm always looking at it now going, oh, I've made so many yummy recipes since then. I wish they were in there. But well,
I mean, this is
book number 2.
You describe this one. Look at this. That's the tofu scramble, whatever it is. That's unbelievable. Look at that beautiful picture. What's that one?
Yeah, I can't see which one that is from.
Oh, that is the tofu scramble.
It's tofu scramble.
The tofu. Yeah.
Yes, it's just another way of eating. If you can't eat eggs or you don't eat eggs, it's just another way of doing it. It's a plant-based protein. We want to be eating more plant-based proteins as well. I think it's a very flexitarian book. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It can be made completely gluten-free if you want to. I often give alternatives. So there's a firecracker chicken in there, which is like having a takeaway. Yeah, it's like having a takeaway at home on a Friday night, and it's all the only sweetness is in there is from the juice of an orange. So that's really nice. But if you don't want to eat chicken, then you can put tofu in it and have firecracker tofu. You can make it. But the thing that's interesting about the recipes is because it's all balanced, everything you need on the plate is on the page. So if I give you often you just have, this is a lovely casserole or a chicken casserole or whatever it is, but then you think, okay, now what do I serve that with? Whereas it's all done with my 30-30 principles. So 30 grams of protein per meal, 30 grams of fiber a day, 30 or more plants a week. Every recipe is really around 30 grams of protein and about 10 grams of fiber, because it's actually the fiber gap that's the real problem at the moment. 96% of people aren't eating enough fiber. So in order to help people eat 30 grams of fiber, the science is all woven into the recipes, but you'll learn the tips and tricks yourself. And there's this great chart in there called fiber and protein top up. So if you think, this is a bit low in fiber, you can just go to the chart and it says add 80 grams of edamame beans, and you're just, I've done it. I've got 10 grams on my plate. So it gives you ways you can just quickly do the top ups yourself. It's a combination of protein and fiber together that help with our satiety. So we get so wound up with with tracking apps and macros and calorie counting. I don't do any of that really. What I do because I've done the number crunching for you, but it's all actually done in a way where you don't need to do that. Because if you're eating natural food, it's naturally bulky. And so what happens is the protein and the fiber together bulk out your stomach a bit. So you have sense receptors on your stomach, and these are telling your brain you're full. So you've got all the food in your stomach. It takes longer to digest because all of that's going to keep you full up for longer than it would if you had a sandwich. And then you've got little receptors in your small intestine, like mini laboratories, picking up all your nutrients. And again, they send messages to the brain via hormones to say you're full up. But the main one, or I think there's the one that's really interesting that often gets missed, is we often talk about GLP-1, the medications. At the bottom of your small intestine and in your large intestine are these little cells called L cells, and they make GLP-1. But they only make it when particularly fiber and also bits of protein actually make it to the end of the gut. So if we're constantly eating food that's digesting quickly, absorbed quickly, we're not getting that deep satiety. And so this book really teaches you that you can tap into your biology and your own satiety mechanisms so that you're not snacking on things between meals because you're just not thinking about it. And so you're just nourished, energized, focused, and can get on with your day.
That's really interesting about the GLP-1 and the gut and fiber. Emily Leeming's been on the podcast. Obviously, she's a big fiber. She talks about fiber a lot, but it's really interesting because actually, satiety, I can't even say the word. This is the problem: is we haven't got that off switch because of highly processed food is not giving us we're not feeling full, and we're not knowing. And what you're obviously this book is doing, and the rest of us are doing, is it's getting the body to readjust and come back to what it should be, and actually
turning off food noise.
Yeah,
and food noise is real. Food noise. Let's talk food noise. Food noise is a thing. It's this constant chitter-chatter between your stomach and your brain. And it comes from, it's just your biology. And I think when we accept, it's my biology, it's not a battle of willpower. You're not weak and because you've caved and you've eaten something. If you eat in line with your biology, your hunger and fullness just start to fall into place. And I think we shouldn't be having to have this battle of willpower. But often it's linked with, number one, particularly in women, women aren't often eating enough for breakfast. They're skipping breakfast, having a coffee. and then really hungry by lunchtime, and then everything starts to unwind after that because we've got ourselves over hungry, or we just haven't had enough. We've given ourselves, a salad, not enough protein, there's not enough fibre in there, and then we're just genuinely hungry, or we've just got the proportions all out of balance. So we've had a sandwich maybe, but it was low in protein, low in fibre, high in carbs. So all of that energy went into your bloodstream really quickly. So you had that burst of energy, and then everything just falls and our blood sugars go down. And when our blood sugars go down, it takes everything sort of on down with it. Our attention span goes down. We can feel our mood can go down, but then we start to feel hungry again. So we're cross with ourselves because we've just had the soup and bread and going, but I had soup and bread at lunch, but maybe I only had 250 calories, which isn't enough. And I think this is one thing I get kickback from sometimes on social media is like, that breakfast had 450 calories. And I'm like, yep, it's, we're women, we need about 2,000 calories a day. If you don't eat, so I'd rather people ate it as real food than snacked in between meals. And then sometimes when you eat less for breakfast, you end up eating more over the course of the day because you're so hungry, and then you get on the blood sugar roller coaster, and then it's all false hunger, and body's just trying to regulate its blood sugars all day. It's so much better and so much more powerful to give yourself permission to have a good sized balanced breakfast, and you often reap the benefits for the whole day.
Have you ever measured your blood sugar?
Mm.
On yourself to understand it as well,
Yeah.
You personally. And how did you do that?
I did it with a continual blood sugar monitor. So I did it. I do it. I don't do it all the time. I think it's a really useful tool. I think it can make some people very anxious. So blood sugars are meant to go up and down. I think that's really important to be clear. So if you eat food, your blood sugars are going to go up. That's a normal response. It's normal for blood sugars to go up and down. What's not normal is for them to keep hitting the red zones where you've spiked your blood sugars, which feels okay while that's happening, but it's that drop that we feel, and it's that drop that then makes us hungry again. We might release stress hormones. We become teenagers. We just want to eat more sugar. Our brain is telling us you've got to get your blood sugars up. And so you end up on that roller coaster and you just set that vicious cycle going. So I think there's always some takeaway. So my surprising one was a latte in the afternoon. Got a big spike from that. And I really noticed when I came down again afterwards. So I'm quite sensitive to caffeine. So I didn't realize that when I have caffeinated coffee, it's quite a stimulant for me, but it does make me feel very lively. So I know, but it wasn't that the coffee was the problem, but I didn't feel great an hour later. So if I have the coffee straight after my meal and have a gap between meals, it doesn't do that. So that's really interesting. You sometimes learn just a little nugget of information and say, oh, that's really interesting. I think the biggest blood sugar spike I got was from a green smoothie in a cafe. I think it was a hot day, if anyone can remember what that is. It was a hot day one summer and I had a green smoothie and literally got the biggest spike I'd ever had, probably because of all the apple juice in there, because that's how they sweeten them. But it's meant to do. Blood sugars are meant to do that, but I think it affects how you feel. I think that's really important. Let's not fearmonger about blood sugars and say, if your blood sugars go high, it's going to cause all of these problems. It affects how you feel. So it affects the food you want to eat. It affects your mood. It affects your energy levels. And I think, which can be the difference between a good day or a bad day. And I think that's where we need to look.
Do you think that sometimes when people go and have that binge of there's a rubbish chocolate and things like that, and a part of the fact is they feel bad afterwards is also to do with the mood? It's not just because they're beating themselves up. There's a mood thing in there, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, I think there is a big mood element. I think we've got so much more to understand about the gut microbiome and mood. Definitely. But sometimes we just, cross or whatever. And sometimes we just want that crappy whatever. And we all do that. I do that too. I sometimes, I haven't celebrated the book yet. But I'm going out with one of my girlfriends this afternoon and I'm probably going to have a pan of Roseanne, everyone. Okay. So just to burn, I'm, full declaration here. And that's for me as a celebration and I'll enjoy it in the moment. I don't do it every day. I think if you start to get most things right most of the time, you start to get the benefits and you become more resilient. But when it comes to your mental health, I think I'd love a bit more proof on this. So I don't want to say too much because I think we don't always know. I think one could be inflammation when we eat really healthy, when we eat healthier, we reduce inflammation in our body, which we now know can affect brain health. But also you've got the gut microbiome, which is basically pulling all the strings. They're busy down there. They can control everything. So, and they do control your mood. And this is one thing, everyone says, oh, we'd make 90% of our serotonin in the gut. And you're like, oh, well, it just sounds like a license to print happiness. I'll just have some more fiber. It doesn't work like that, because that serotonin can't get into your brain. It stays in the gut, and it has a very important function of peristalsis in the gut. But what happens is the gut microbes are making substances, these sort of bioactive substances, which go and work all around the body. And so they're almost like building site managers, which are going off and doing a bit of construction work in the brain or wherever they need to be. So I think the whole gut microbiome will laugh at what we know now in 10 years' time. We think we know so much now because it's just mind-blowing. But I think in the next 10 years, it will be even more mind-blowing. I think we're finding out so much.
So much. It's interesting because, people say, oh, they say to us now, I'm a bit older than you, but they will say, you need to eat in the seasons. And you go, well, that's what we used to always do because we had no choice because it wasn't in the supermarkets. I didn't even know what an avocado was when I was a child, that we just didn't have them. So what's your view on seasonal food and cooking and avocados, for example?
You're going to get more nutrients from food that, particularly when it comes to fruits and vegetables, that taste good. So the taste and the flavors are also a sign of their nutrient quality. So if you've got a bit of fruit that's been flown in on an aeroplane, picked unripe and tastes like water, it's probably not going to have, think of a tomato.
Oh,
the tomatoes
go, yeah.
Yeah, I think the most boring salad in the world, and this is why people often don't eat salads, is in tomatoes, lettuce and cucumber. They're probably my three most boring vegetables. I call that a garnish because they don't taste of anything. You need a really good dressing. Whereas if you switch it up for, red cabbage, red peppers, carrots, and all these, hard vegetables, it all tastes better as well. So I think, yes, the taste is a reflection also on the nutritional quality. We do have this amazing, we live in an amazing world where you can get everything in every season. I think if you can get local food as well that's travelled less far, you're probably going to get more benefits as well. So I think for me, it's just trying to get diversity in your diet. Just when you're in the supermarket, just put different things in your trolley. Try different fruits and vegetables. Just shake things up a bit. And just make sure we don't go into autopilot in the supermarket. It's that diversity that's really important. And that's really important for the gut microbiome.
We are very lucky because we live in this bubble where we can, afford lovely ingredients and go to the supermarket. And obviously there are people who now money's a problem. And I think we just need to also cover that. So how can you eat well, which isn't going to cause a lot of money for the lower income people?
I think that's a really important question. I find I find it hard to think that lots of people, don't have access to real food. I think we should all have access to good food, and I understand that's a real issue for people. So I think from my point of view, where are the quick wins here? So the quick wins are things like, you've got tinned beans. There was a tin of beans I bought the other day that had 10 different beans in it in one tin. I think using beans and lentils, becoming more familiar with cooking them. There's so many ways of just adding them to things. I did a chili last night. I had some nice quality mince, but it was outnumbered by black lentils, green lentils, black beans, kidney beans. I had lots of people for dinner. And I think tinned beans I think are great. Dried lentils I use in so many things. I've even got red lentil bagels in the book, which are just these bagels, which if you haven't tried them, please do, because it's almost like alchemy or witchcraft. You make these incredible bagels out of red lentils. So I think learning how to use beans and lentils can be really important. One of the most nutritious foods is from a protein and omega-3 perspective is tinned fish, which is cost effective. There's a recipe in my book for fish cakes. Instead of potato, I use tinned beans, and you could use tinned mackerel. And then you've got flavors of lemon and things in there as well. But just combining two relatively cheap foods to make something that's healthier. We've got oats, which everyone became very scared of oats. And I think now we're going, oh, okay. it's like potatoes and rice. If you just eat potatoes or you just eat rice, then you're going to get a blood sugar spike. But if you eat your oats with yogurt and some fruit and some nuts and seeds, then you've balanced the meal out. So I think sometimes oats, in moderate with the right foods, are another thing you can eat. Frozen vegetables can be really useful. So I think I understand it's difficult for a lot of people, and I don't want to. I'm in a very lucky situation because I'm creating all these recipes and have cupboards full of the right foods. But I think we do have some really good basic foods, things like eggs, as well that we can fall back on.
And also, it's maintaining the nutritional and health, and that's in the long term is an investment. So spending maybe a little bit more money on food and understanding. I think it's because people haven't understood food and nutrition and the body, and we've been just inundated with all this processing of everything, so it's very hard to come back. And it's not been that long since our supermarkets been full of that food.
But I think also there's so many other things to spend your money on. It wasn't so we used to spend a quarter of our, well, I don't want to get the statistics wrong here, but at least a quarter of our salary used to go on food. It's now less than 10%. So I think also there's just so much else. We've got so many subscriptions to this and that, and people are making, people have got to make ends meet. So it's where do you make? So the supermarket is often an area where you can make some savings. And with all the ultra processed food that's freely available, it's lower in price. It's very accessible for a lot of people.
Where do your views come across? So obviously this is nutrition. What about you personally? What about fitness, exercise? How do you deal with your stress? You're busy person, and producing a book like this, and it's going to be quite busy for you in the next few weeks. How do you manage that?
I'm always managing it. I think I'm always going, okay. You need to. It's funny actually. Melissa Hemsley's just sent me a Zen. Because she's on publication day. She sent me a little Zen recording for 10 minutes. She says, "You're going to need this." So that's quite funny.
Oh, it's just that.
Yeah. I think for me, as we get older, we hit midlife. We can't just take everything for granted. So I go to the gym. I do strength training. I do yoga for balance. And just to calm my mind, I jump on a mini trampoline. That's my cardio. I've got a dog that needs walking. So I do actually all of these things sort of all peppered through my day. And then all the work all around it. So I put them in like appointments. So they're in my calendar. If I do yoga on a Friday, I do one live class. It's in there. It's in the calendar. So no one can book anything over it. And I think you have to prioritize those things as well. Stress, I'm always working on, so I can be quiet. I'm just a very highly powered person, so I can push myself too hard. So I take sleep very seriously. I wear an Oura ring. I'm watching my metrics a lot all the time. Just so that you kind of know when the ring's going, hey, like, what are you doing? You go, yeah, I kind of am burning the candle at both ends at the minute. But I take sleep quite seriously. And
do you know what's really interesting is the fact that my daughter wears a Whoop too. She decided she wasn't a runner. She decided to do the London Marathon, and now she's a runner. And people say, "Why aren't you taking the Whoop off?" And she's so protective of her sleep. She absolutely, and her time off and her screen time off. And I think the younger generation it's really interesting to watch the shift, particularly of alcohol as well. I don't know whether you've seen it, but I definitely don't drink as much. No, as someone on the train said to me yesterday, he said, I said to my son, at Sunday lunch, we like a beer, a glass of wine. No, I'll have a glass of water. He said, what? He said, I'd never said that to my father years ago. I'd bitten his hand off for a beer or a glass of wine or whatever. What is your view on alcohol while we're just talking about it?
I think it depends. In the British culture, it's quite a big part of celebrations and it's always there, isn't it? I think it depends on your culture, but it is sort of woven into our society. So you can either have I think as a nutritionist, it's a really difficult question to answer because the research is coming in saying, well, a good amount of alcohol is like, 2 drinks a year or something. So, but that's not realistic for a lot of people as well. I think we need to sort of get away from just having a glass of wine every day at the end of the day to chill out. And I think there's a whole generation of, particularly, I don't know, maybe people more in midlife. I think you're saying the younger people have a slightly better attitude to alcohol. I think you have to be mindful. So the way I do it is I sometimes drink, sometimes I don't. And I mean, as in I just don't drink for 3 months, 4 months. I had a glass of champagne last night because it was book launch day. I think it's not really a big part of my life. If you said to me, you can't have another drink again, I go, oh, okay. There's plenty of other things that I would have instead. But I think it's just, again, it's moderation. Nothing needs to be off the table. It's all down to quality and quantity. And I think that's everything in diet.
So your book, so tell us the journey. So who's your publisher?
My publisher is Pan Macmillan, but Bluebird is the
Brilliant. They've been absolutely amazing to work with, actually, because they've sent us your book and things like that. I'll tell you, your breakfast recipes are just, oh my goodness. I do skip breakfast a few times, but I think I'm going to start using your recipe.
I'm going to tell you why you need to have breakfast. Okay,
my daughter will love you telling me this, so keep going.
Someone said the other day, "Oh, I'm not into fasting." I am into fasting as well. So I believe very much in leaving a 12 to 14 hour gap overnight. Works really well and works well for women. I'm not a big fan of 16-hour fast. I'm not a big fan of women pushing through till lunchtime. Because what happens is we can, when we haven't got food, we start to get, our body gets a bit stressed. So we produce stress hormones, which then tells the liver to put some sugar in the bloodstream. So often we feel quite good in the mornings when we're not eating because we're being powered from adrenaline and cortisol and stress hormones. And that's not the same as feeling nourished. But when you wake up in the morning, your body just wants to get on and start working. So it still needs protein. We don't have a store or a little cupboard where we keep our amino acids to make all our neurotransmitters and enzymes in the morning. We start to break down our muscles to be able to use it. So we're working on our stores. There's something really calming about eating, particularly for women, 25, 30 grams of protein at breakfast, having your fiber. I think it's really stabilizing on our mood. And I think we have a much more productive morning. And I think if you push your breakfast too late, there is some research to show that we can have an overreaction to our blood sugars because we're almost so hungry that can actually put you onto that sugar roller coaster unintentionally. So, and also the later we eat in the day, the more likely we are to, it can affect our sleep, but it can also affect markers of our health, things like blood sugar markers through the night as well. So actually, bringing your food forward a bit, eating your breakfast a little bit earlier, but also finishing earlier in the day is really important. And I think just from the women I work with, I see they always do best. I always say, try and have your breakfast by 10:30, absolute latest, earlier if you want to. But do try and finish eating if you can, 7 o'clock at night, and give your body that chance to just empty the stomach, and so that you're not digesting food as soon as you go to bed.
Well, okay. I'll listen to you.
I try it and see.
No, I love breakfast. I don't skip it all the time, but it's just I get on with things and I forget and I think, oh, I'll wait till lunchtime, and it's just easy. But you're right.
Do the one, it's just a really simple one, just that people might just take away, is just take some Greek yogurt. Just check it's a high protein one. Read the back of the pack. Yeah, have 150 to 200 grams of Greek yogurt. That's 20 grams of protein straight out. Add some milled flax seeds, a couple of tablespoons, mix that in, then it will be really sticky. So you're like, oh, that's too thick. Add some milk or some kefir or something like that. Add some frozen berries to the top, and you've got a really filling breakfast bowl then that's going to hit your 30 grams of protein, 10 grams of fiber, and is super simple and quick to make. So that's just a really quick breakfast.
I just want you in my kitchen. Would you come here and cook? Obviously, my background is loads in cooking, but it's but it's just so lovely. So, what's the next few weeks for you? Book launch and everything else. What's ahead of you?
I've got lots of going to bookstores to do signings. I'm in London next week. Next Wednesday lunchtime, I'm in Waterstones in Piccadilly at lunchtime. I think the following week, it's the Thursday the 12th. I think I'm on the King's Road at Waterstones. And just book signings, podcasts, radio, and I'm just waiting. Just got lots of things booked in. So I think I want to enjoy it. I feel like, it's quite nerve-wracking. It's a bit like waiting to have a baby. Seems like I've been talking about the book for so long, and we were watching the pre-sales, and that was really exciting because everyone is saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be a big book. But it has to land as well. You want the baby to come out and everything to be, to check everything's okay.
Wow.
It's now landing well as well. So I feel like it's been a very long process, and now I want to enjoy it.
Well, I've just been speaking to someone else who's launched a book, and she's done all that height, and then she's coming down. She's going to be an ambassador for some of the work that I'm doing, which is great. So if you were to leave our listeners with 3 really good tips, things that you'd like them to think about as we leave this podcast.
3 things I'd like people to take away are, I would say start with breakfast. I would say that's a really important one. And I think I want people to take that away with a proper sized breakfast. A bowl of Special K is not a balanced breakfast. So making sure you've got balance in your breakfast. Just try one of my breakfasts and just see how that might improve your day. I think I would say try and add in food to your plate. There's this really handy fibre and protein top-up chart in the book. And I think when you've got your plate, see if you can add in more colour, more texture, more some seeds, some avocado, just adding things into your plate that are going to give you more nutrients. And again, see how that helps you to feel, and trying to get that. So you've got more balance, but also more diversity, which can be really important. I think the third thing is that food should still be a real enjoyment. I think don't over medicalize your diet. Don't try and be perfect. There are no black belts in nutrition. If you're doing it perfectly, you're probably an incredibly boring guest to have over for dinner. If you arrive and say, I don't eat this, I don't eat that, I'm sugar free, I'm this free, I'm that free, I'm whatever. I think don't be scared around food. If you want something and you enjoy it and have it, have that enjoyment around food, but make it a really important part of your life where it's important. You lay the table, you make your plate look lovely. So the power of eating really well, but don't aim for perfection. Be consistent, not militant. And I think that's my third takeaway. Consistent.
Oh, well, do you know, it's so lovely. I've been so excited to have you on this podcast. And how privileged am I to have you literally today as it's launching? I think that's really exciting. 20 years of all your work, 100 recipes, and bring it all together. An exciting time. And I hope you're really going to relish it and go and have the glass of champagne, whatever you're going to do. And I wish I was there last night having your lovely... What did you cook last night?
I had a beef chili with all beans and lentils.
Silly.
Can I tell you the funniest story?
Yeah.
Can we just end on the funniest story? So people said, how did you spend publication day? I spent most of the day waiting in for a delivery, and I'm going to tell you the most funny story. So I had 2 deliveries coming yesterday. One was from Ocado and one was a bed. So it's the second bed we've had since we've been married, because our other one was all falling to bits. And so I'd been upstairs and I'd taken all the duvets off the bed. So I'd taken it all to one side because the men were going to come and build the bed. And I come downstairs and my telephone rings, and it rings, and there's a young man saying, can we deliver, your deliveries, we're a bit early. Is it okay if we come now? And I said, yes, absolutely. I've got the bedroom all ready for you. He went, sorry. I said, I've just got the bedroom ready. And he goes, I'm from Ocado. And this poor guy must have been about 18. He looked at 8, just could not look me in the eye. I was so embarrassed. So, yes, that's what I did on publication day.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much. And just before, because we're going to put it in all our show notes, but where can people find you? Where's your book? Where can they buy your book and things?
You can get my book on every, bookstore, Amazon, Waterstones, small retailers. It's really good to support them as well. My handle, and if you just Dominique Ludwig Nutrition, if you want to find me on social media, I give no nonsense nutrition tips, lots of balanced recipes, just simple habits for real life. I'm not really on any other, so I do a bit of Facebook, but I'm not really on lots. I don't do X and everything. Or Twitter. What's the other one? Sorry, TikTok. Sorry, I do sound 55, don't I? But yeah, mostly it's all Instagram, Facebook, and obviously the book. And a website. There's a website.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been lovely. I'm going to start cooking these recipes. Anyway, thank you so much. It's been so lovely, our talk.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Take care.
Pleasure.
Bye.